Cunnacanor, the mystical hill of North Kerry, wrapped in clouds, keeping its eternal vigil near Listowel. And over the years, in the shadow of its influence, literary talent in abundance has flowered. George Fitzmaurice, Brian McMahon, Brendan Kennelly, Maurice Walsh, Joseph O'Connor, and John B. Keane. This Listowel publican is now one of the country's most prolific writers. His latest book, The Baron Makers, has sold well over 15,000 copies, and its success prompted the publishers to present John B. with a leather-bound version.
And it's a beautifully bound book, the looks. Thank you, Steve and Bernie. And I sincerely hope that this will be the first of many similar presentations over the next 25 years or so.
John B. Keane was born in this house in Listowel in 1928. Now his son's office, then the home of his schoolteacher father. Listowel, its countryside and its people shaped him. They made him what he is. He says, it's a writer's town.
Some of my earliest readings consisted of the novels of Maurice Welsh, who wrote The Quiet Man, and 30 other novels. Then there were the short stories of Brian McMahon, later his novels, Seamus Wilmot's novel. Everybody was writing novels in Listowel when I was a young man.
The young John B. was educated at St. Michael's College.
It brings back for me the happiest of memories. Although in my time there was a fairly harsh regime here, but there was a great system of education.
And the system of education put you out a few times, expelled you, and
I was expelled. I wouldn't call it being. I was thrown out for my own good on numerous occasions, but I was always brought back immediately afterwards.
Certainly, whatever he did to displease the authorities isn't held against him now.
Oh, I think all that's forgotten. It's part of the lore, perhaps. I think it's all forgotten. Certainly, we would regard John B. as one of our most outstanding past pupils.
But success didn't come early or easily. After a spell as a chemist assistant in Listowel, he did what so many of his generation did. He took the boat to England. Ireland had given him an education and a taste for pint drinking, but no sense of achievement. That was to come later, after he returned, bought a pub, and had written his first play, Scythe. In 1955, there were over 70 pubs in Listowel. Although even with this apparent overcapacity, his business could still supply the income he needed. His writing, the satisfaction.
If I didn't have a public house, at this present time, I would be able to support the wife and family on my writing. But in the early years, no way. You could say that I spent a fruitless apprenticeship of nearly 20 years before I earned any money of consequence. And even to be an extremely successful writer in Ireland, the most you'll make is a living.
Making that living has led to 15 full-length plays, and at any given time at least one of them is playing somewhere. He has a regular column in 2 newspapers and writes numerous short stories. There's also a biography, Man of the Triple Name, the life story of one of Kerry's most famous matchmakers. And of course, television. From RTE's earliest days, he's been a familiar face on the screen. This is perhaps his first appearance. The recording is old and flickering, but his distinctive humour shines through.
I was born in July in the town of Listowel in County Kerry. I was the 4th member of a family of 5 boys and 4 girls. I was something of a problem to my parents in the early years because the power of speech escaped me until I was 3 years of age. When I started, however, I couldn't be stopped.
And his tongue has moved with great freedom ever since. His speech formed by the language of Listowel and of the Stax Mountains, where he spent his summers as a child.
The language I speak and write is a very racy, fast-moving, it's a spate language. And I think it was the fusing of Bardic Irish and Varna and Elizabethan English which gave rise to this lusty sort of love child of a language which we use here. It's a racy language, racy, colourful. You'll never see anything ordinary. For instance, we were talking a while ago about bringing ass loads of tough to town. No, a fellow with a small axe fell of tough. I heard the fellow saying only the other day, he said, God, he said, wouldn't the bloody blackbird bring home more in his beak?
John B. Keane loves Listowel because of its people, their way of life, and their humour. And he's always met a lot of that in his pub.
And are you a married man?
I am, of course. And as a matter of fact, I'm a bit of a matchmaker.
A matchmaker?
I am indeed.
But how many marriages now are you responsible for?
Well, to tell you the truth, I've lost count of the number of marriages, but I know I'm directly responsible for 224 children.
Oh, merciful God. 224 children.
And it's from conversations like this that he draws the inspiration for his plays and stories.
In many of my characters, there are several people, you know. There are twins in some of them, triplets, quintuplets, and septuplets even. And they're all joined in together into one character.
The Baron Makers is his latest book and his first novel. It's set in that period of economic stagnation and hopeless poverty after the war. He blames what he calls a careless and indifferent government for the wave of emigration it spawned. And while the book's fiction, like all his other works, it's based on a real place, real people, and real events. This is Derrabog, the Derrabeg of the novel. In one of those houses, a parish priest of the time broke up a wren dance, just as Canon Tet did in the book. Now, John B. says there are very few Canon Tets in the church, but in spite of them, he's always been a believer.
Very, very rarely would I miss Mass. I would say the Rosary every day. Some people would say I'm a bit of a rogue, maybe, but I do have a profound faith in a simple faith in the Catholic Church. I believe in it, and for all its flaws and faults and imperfections, it's still a great and lasting institution, and I need it.
He also says he needs beer, usually 3 or 4 pints of it a night.
I have a larynx which seems to get dry very easily, and I need to dose it with copious intakes of beer. There's an old Irish saying which says, Ní mar sim sonol ach mar gra dun credacton. It isn't for the sake of the drink, but for the love of the company.
And he does a lot of his drinking in his own pub, which his wife runs while he writes.
Actually, I don't spend much time in the pub, at least not inside the counter. I spend most of my time in the pub outside the counter, where I'm an honoured and valued customer. My wife runs the pub, and we have a great relationship. Then that she supplies me with drink, and I drink it.
John B. feels he's found the perfect counteraction to any ill effects his drinking might bring on. He walks at least 3 miles every day.
It keeps me fit and sane, and I think it's chiefly because of this insistence upon sanity that I exercise myself as roughly as possible, violent exercise.
Well, what pressures on your sanity would you have in Listowel?
The pressures of composition, for one thing, trying to write a column, 2 columns every week, one for the Limerick Leader, one for the Evening Herald, trying to get on with a novel which I'm writing at the moment, and I find I can resolve most of the problems in my creative writing by walking when I'm on my own.
And if he has a hangover which even the walking can't cope with, he has another solution.
If I had a very bad hangover in the morning, I would get a bottle of Paddy Flaherty whiskey. I would repair to my bed. First of all, I would hang my cap or hat at the end of the bed, and I'd keep drinking the whiskey until I saw 2 hats. Then I'd get up.
John B. Keane's never been afraid to say what he thinks, even if it's unpopular. In the 60s, he was in the Language Freedom Movement, a pressure group with the aim of ending compulsory Irish. He had and has a love of Irish and felt that compulsion only served to destroy the language. He says his stand on it nearly destroyed him.
We came out against violent opposition. I remember one night in the Mansion House, the stage was invaded by some paramilitaries, followed by a number of fanatics. Myself and a friend of mine, friends got beaten up. We had to run for our lives, and if we had not been given refuge in the kitchen of a chip shop, I'm certain we would have been beaten to death by these so-called lovers of the Irish language. In fact, they did the Irish language a lot more harm than good.
About 4,000 people live in Listowel, so it's too large for everyone to know everyone else. But everyone knows John B. Keane.
This is where he buys his vegetables now. Make sure.
This is where I buy all my vegetables.
Best Kerry can. That's why he's such a healthy looking man.
It's fine, and I was losing my hair until I started eating Wales cabbage.
When it comes to assessing the writing of Listowel's contribution to literature, the reactions in the main positive, with a few reservations.
John B is all right. He's making a living. That's all that matters. That's what life is all about, isn't it?
We're very proud of him in Listowel. Very much so.
Well, I think he's the greatest.
Why is that?
Well, he's humorous and he's a... Anytime you ever go into him, he's smiling.
Oh, he's all right. Nice man.
We're kind of a hub of literature and drama and all that here. Yes. Well, in fact, they should change the name of this place and call it Stratford-on-Avon.
He has the old cracking. The only thing that is a bit raw on TV at times. He comes out very raw there.
So some reservations on the approach to sex in his plays and stories. John B. says he's a realist. He doesn't approve of extramarital sex, but disapproval won't stop it, he says.
Sex, like the poor, is always with us, and will always be with us, and there's nothing we can do about it. It just won't go away. So we might as well enjoy it while it's here.
With an election pending, he's been turning his thoughts to politics and politicians. In North Kerry, he maintains, it's a tradition among the electorate to promise the number one vote to every candidate.
Especially in rural Ireland, like where canvass is called to every house, it has helped to shape a lot of acting careers in Ireland. Because when a fella becomes used to lying for so long, you see, he becomes an actor, and he can act a part. And I have often known people who actually were convinced after the canvass that they were going to be elected because they believed the lies they were told. And in this town one time a fellow stood for an election and he got 2 votes. True story. And that night he went to his pub and the publican said to him, well, I didn't leave you down anyway. Well, he said, my wife must be an awful liar, so.
John B. Keane says his main weaknesses are a hot temper and a desire for drink. His humour is certainly one of his strengths. But when death finally removes him from Listowel, he'd like people to remember him for his writing.
I'd hope that they would still see my plays and read my books. I wouldn't expect any more. Occasionally. And maybe my friends who survive after me lift their glasses and say, he wasn't a bad poor old boy.